Welcome, everyone. I'm Jean Voicedart, and this is Courageous Creative Conquerors. And I have with me today a very special guest, Rose Penhale. She's a very talented poet. She writes haiku. She's going to tell us all about that and her journey as a creative artist. Welcome, Rose. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Jean.
It's my joy to have you here. So I'd like to just start off and invite you to share your creative journey. Tell us a little bit about Rose growing up. Where were you born, or where did you grow up, and who inspired you in a creative way?
I'm from the Philippines. I grew up with a mother who's a teacher, who's an English teacher, and my father who's a romantic. So I guess you might say I started early enjoying poetry, or even the English language, so to speak. I'm not much of a speaker. I write more, I guess, knowing more words that come to me in writing are so much easier than speaking.
Yes. And was your mother also a poet? Did she write?
My mother, she didn't write. She drew. She was an artist. She liked to draw.
Oh.
But she was an English teacher, and she basically had us, the students, join in speaking contest, poetry, like reciting poetry, and in class, and reading them.
And were you creative in other ways as a child?
I love crafts.
Yes.
That much I do. I do crochet. I do embroidery. I do beadwork. Not lately, though.
Yes. Yeah. I love all that. And
I cannot draw.
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
an artist to draw.
yes, but you're creative in other ways. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, so tell us your journey. So you're growing up in a creative home, you're creative in different ways. And how did you decide to really get into poetry and haiku? When did you first start doing that?
In high school, that's when I started to write things down. Um, Not haiku, it was more like short poems. And I would edit and edit and edit and edit, and I could never seem to be satisfied with my poetry and all that stuff. But it seemed like there were maybe one or two poems that kind of lasted. I didn't do much poetry when I was in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mostly when I was in Canada now that I started to write again. I would um, I would have a pen and paper close to me, and oftentimes I would just write thoughts that come my way.
So was there any particular moment when you felt more inspired to go deeper into writing poetry?
There was a time in my life where I joined a choir, and the choir director encouraged us to write songs for the choir, and I started to um, hear a melody. It was just a one line of a melody, one line, and I thought, it's a beautiful melody. Now, how am I going to do with this? What would I do with this? And I'm working. I work. I work with the city of Toronto at the time, and I had pen and paper beside me. Next thing, the tune, or the tune of this that I heard is fresh in my mind, and I'm writing. and the next thing it's higher and higher, and I'm writing, and then I'd stop and I'd work, and then another line would come, and I'd write it down, and so it went on like this, and by noontime I had like 3 verses of the song, and I thought, this is lovely, you know, and I even had the whole tune in my head by this time. So I wrote it, and I actually sent it to for consideration to this path that I follow, and sure enough, they accepted it, and it was printed in one of the newsletters, and I thought, oh, I enjoyed that so much. So from that time on, I would have this pen and paper beside me, and so since then I've been I guess I've been writing, I think I've written about 3 or 4 songs for our choir group.
And that's amazing.
Yeah. So haiku didn't come until much later. I always loved haiku when I was growing up because it was simple. It was, it just had this imaginative quality to it, because it doesn't give you everything. It just gives you bits and pieces, and I don't know, the imagination just works that way for me. Anyway,
so. Well, so I apologize. I should have introduced you as a music composer as well, or a lyricist.
You know, maybe a lyricist, yeah.
Yes.
I did play piano, but
that's beautiful.
Come up with.
So you hear the melody, and did you also share that with a musician to score that for you?
I did. Our choir director is a musician, and he did the score for that.
And to record it for the musicians too.
We did it. We have a recording. I can't find it. It's in a little tape cassette, but we did sing it. In the choir and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. So what I love about what you said is that after that happened, you learned something really valuable. You learned to keep a pen and paper handy with you at all times, to when that, because you never know when that creative spark, that creative flow is going to happen, and you're ready. And I love that you're ready for that. So we both mentioned haiku, but some of the people listening might not know what that is. Could you explain that a little bit?
Haiku has 17 words, or 17 syllables, I should say. Usually it's it follows a 5-7-5 and 5-7-5. It's almost like the limerick, you know, where the limerick would have cadence and stuff like that. The same thing with haiku, and usually haiku has would talk about nature, sounds of nature, you know, the feel of nature, you know, stuff like that. But I've gone past that. I still work with nature, like the pictures from nature, but at the same time I also talk about feelings.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, you do. You do. And I was trying to explain to our group what haiku was, and I failed miserably because there's something important. I do too. That's okay. But there's something important about it. It's not just, you know, trying to find words that have those syllables. The important thing is the quality of it, and that usually there's some kind of message there that's about feeling, you know, and you're tying it together with nature. And that's where I failed. I just wrote something with the syllables, you know, and sir, I can check that off. I've got that. But it's a deeper meaning. And it was just really beautiful to see you in the way that you're writing it. I would love for you to share a few of your poems with us, if you could. Maybe your favorite ones. And what I see is this connection between the feeling and nature. Like it might say the wind shed a tear or something. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just making that humanness of nature a combination and emotion. And so, Rose, I think it would be really, really great if you could share a couple of poems right now with us.
Okay. I've written a few here. Well, not a few, very little. Like I said, haiku is the old version of haiku was about nature, the sounds, the feel of nature. But I've come up with my own, where depending on how I'm feeling for that day, I've come up with a few haikus, and it's all about the human emotions or what we go through.
Yes.
So here's one or two. Let each of our senses be a silent witness to the beauty before us.
That's lovely. Yeah.
Another one. Like child's play, the more you give, the more you get. Love that is.
Oh, I like that. Yes.
And usually when I post my haiku on Facebook, I accompany it with pictures.
Yes.
And some of the pictures would be from my garden. So oftentimes I get inspiration when I'm not doing anything, like I'm not going out. Like today, it's snowing here in Canada.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't go out in the snow. So once in a while, I just look at something, and I figure I'd write something, and a picture would I'd picture something, and that's a picture that I want to include in the poem.
Yes. I think that's so important. That's a very important part of the creative arts. The visual, the writing and the picture and the sounds, and you got the music going in your head. It just all seems to work together for me, at least. Yeah.
It's interesting. However, I've found that the audience that one has on Facebook, let's say, they're captivated first by the picture, not necessarily the poetry. Like somebody likes the picture, then they read, maybe.
That's true. But the picture helps you go deeper into the poetry, into the written word, or vice versa. The written word helps you go deeper into the illustration. Yeah.
I have noticed that one, so I thought I'd include a picture now and then.
Yeah, I think that's true. So I want to ask you a question. The group is Courageous, Creative Conquerors, and everyone that I interview shares with me something, they have challenges in their life, either in childhood, could be trauma, could be, or just general everyday challenges that they have growing up or as an adult, and that they use the creative arts, expressive arts, art, music, dance, craft making, photography, whatever, anything, to help them get through it. And it might help them get through a particularly difficult episode in their life, or just every day. It helps them on a daily basis find that quiet time, that moment to reflect and keep them healthier. So I wanted to ask you, do you have a particular challenge in your life that the the creative arts has helped you with? Or do you have everyday use of the expressive arts, the poetry, the writing, and other things to keep you on track? Could you share a little bit about that for you?
For me, yeah. Okay, it's difficult. Aside from the aches and pains with growing old,
Yes.
I do experience anxiety. I have I've gone through moments in life where I have anxiety episodes, like attacks, anxiety attacks, so to speak.
Yes.
And it's difficult because some people don't understand that. Here I am. I'm going to be teary.
I understand it really well. And just to, if this helps you, I've had multiple head injuries and I have anxiety attacks from that. And
Yeah.
like you say, people don't understand why
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're feeling anxious or your personality changes. You know, I totally understand it. And I'm so happy that you're sharing that, because there's a lot of people out there, particularly in this time that we're living in. People are experiencing anxiety from 2 years of pandemic. So thank you for being vulnerable. So go ahead. So you have dealt with anxiety all your life as a child, or just as a young adult, or?
I don't know if it started when I was a kid. I do know that it's been more pronounced as in my adulthood.
Yes.
And when I was a kid, I guess my anxiety was how to please my mother.
Okay. A lot of people can relate to that. You're not alone.
Like I said, she was a teacher, and everything has
wow,
to be
that's
so,
tough, being a child
so
of a
perfect and all
teacher.
that stuff. Yeah. Mind you, I think I passed that one. I did pretty good
Yay.
at school. So I'm sure she was proud of me and all that stuff, as my father always was. In high school, it wasn't so bad. In university, it wasn't. It was more towards the end of my career, so to speak, where it became more pronounced, and going through divorce as well.
Sure.
You know, it makes me so it's nerve-wracking. Because I'm trying to hide all these feelings as well.
Yes.
It's not something that I would go telling people and whatnot.
Yes.
And what has helped me more than anything is the practice of my my word, or my mantra, so to speak. I used to have a friend, she's gone now. I used to have a friend who had this connection with me when I was at work and I'm feeling all anxious. And the next thing, she'd be on the phone, like, I'm just thinking of her, and she'd be on the phone, and she'd say,
Oh,
"You go to the washroom and do your word, sing your word 3 times or whatever,
mhm.
And yeah, I miss her so. But that
That's
wasn't all
beautiful.
that. Yeah, I never really thought about taking any medication or anything like that until it got to a point where nothing seemed to help. I'd just break down, like whether I was on the subway. We do have subways here. On the subway to work or going home. Once in a
Yes.
while, a tear would fall, and that's it. I'm done. I'm done for the day.
Yes.
So yeah, so my outlet was basically, writing it down, because I cannot express myself as easily as when I'm writing.
So you would feel these anxiety attacks or moments of anxiety or panic or fear, whatever it is, nervousness, worry, and then you would take in that moment and write, is what you're saying,
Yeah,
writing, and
most
that
times.
help you express, because you're not able to express this with friends or family very well. They don't understand. And you can get it out that way, is what you're saying, and you do it in a creative way.
Yeah.
And
And
how is that a help for you? How do you feel when you're doing that?
when I do that, oftentimes when I sit down and write, I try to focus on something positive. What it helps me calm down.
Yes.
You might feel in some of them there's a sadness, and then but I think I try to come up with something more positive, just to give me a lift myself, not necessarily. It's more for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to shift from that
Mhm.
sadness or worry or anxiety, to lift yourself up, is to think of some, and for me, I don't think it's ignoring the pain or the anxiety. It's just kind of opening a door to another experience,
Mhm.
and still honoring that pain, not shoving it down or anything, but just opening the door to look around for something to be grateful for, or something else, and writing about that.
You
Yeah,
put
that's
it
great.
so nicely, like,
Yeah,
thank
yes,
you.
yes. I mean, so often we have this choice. We can, both are happening at the same time. We have the pain, and we want to love that and wrap our arms around that, and accept that, but also look around. There's some other things going on,
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
good things too, and try to experience both at the same time. I get into trouble if I try to bury the pain or the anxiety, or I feel ashamed of it, and I try to look the other way or pretend that it's not happening, or socially isolate myself from people and just pretend it's not happening. But it's good to acknowledge it, laugh about it, and then look for the good things. Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
I try to do that.
Yeah.
I find myself a movie that is funny. I try.
Yes.
I avoid the movies that are kind of sad,
Or
or
frightening. Yeah.
frightening,
Yeah.
that, it's the moments when I feel so um, kind of, I feel broken, sort of, that
Mhm.
I try to find solace in my writing.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing that. And
Thank
could you share some? I mean, I'm just so grateful that you're willing to be vulnerable and share, because there's so many people out there that can relate to everything you're saying, Rose. There's people out there, and you're helping in that. And could you share, for those of us who are creative and understand what you're talking about, but sometimes when we're really creative and we're getting tapped on the shoulder, like, to create, sometimes we ignore that. It's like we don't want to do it.
you.
I know my mind, my heart is saying, Jean, you need to create. You need to write a song, write a poem, draw a picture. You need to create, to tune into God, tune into love, tune into the blessings in life. You need to create, and sit down and do that. But I'm like, no, I just can't do that right now. I just don't want to. I'm just going to watch a movie, or just do something else, or or help a friend, or just ignore it, or clean the house or something. And it's like I'm denying myself
Mhm.
God's love or the blessings in life, because I feel ashamed or I feel bad, and so it's a block. Um, do you have a tip of how to get out of that? If you're blocked, how do you break through? Do you have a daily discipline okay, every day I'm going to write at 6 in the morning, or I'm going to, do you have a discipline that helps you get out of that, or what do you do?
Aside from, one of the things that I do is remember my dreams, and I write, I sing a word, and or a mantra, what you might call. And I may not do it as religiously as some people are doing it at the same time and all that, but even just doing it 3 times, if I was in the washroom or anywhere in the house or anywhere I am, I would probably just, whisper it to myself. And oftentimes I would try and pick up a book and read a passage.
That's a good tip. Yeah, that's a good tip.
And at times the inspiration comes just from that little passage that I'd be reading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something to shift.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to shift. Sometimes I just walk outside, walk around, look at the garden, or look at the butterflies. Yeah. And I shift.
When I had the garden, I would go out, and be out there. I can be out there half the day, just enjoying the garden, enjoying the fruits of my labor, so to speak.
Yes. Yes, that's a good way to do. Or another thing that I do is I try something else creative. If I'm trying to write a poem and I'm blocked, or I'm trying to write another chapter of a book that I'm working on and I'm just stuck, I'll get out my pencil and I'll draw a picture, and that, or I'll just put on some music and start singing or dancing around, and then I can go back to trying to write that paragraph or poem, and I just feel more connected to the creative flow. It was a different flow, but it's all the same. It's all the same. So I can shift and do a different, like you said, you do a crochet or something. Doing something else creative helps me. Yeah.
It's funny because I know I do the same things that you do. Oftentimes just picking up a book, and there might be a word that just gets my attention, and I could focus on that word, and I can try and come up with something like a short poem just from that one word.
Yes, that's beautiful.
And, I play with words now and then, so I like word games. Let's put it that way. So
okay.
That's some of the inspiration too.
Sometimes I do that too. I'll get a word, like it just pops into my head, and it's so important to be mindful and reflective, and just like you said, keep a journal, write down these things, and then go back and look at all the different words that I came up with throughout the day, and then put them together to make a poem. Yeah. Well, these are some good tips. Thank you very much. And so finally, would you like to share a final poem with us before we close?
A short one. This is a poem that came to me. I was in a retreat, and our bedroom in the hotel faces a river, and it was early morning, and I woke up and I took a picture of this scene, and there's the mist.
Ooh.
It was kind of misty morning, and the river and all that stuff. So the poem that I wrote, he walks with me in a dream recurrent, like mist along the river.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
So
I just love it. Just the brief words, but so powerful. Yeah.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you very much. And thank you for taking time with me today to share share intimately who you are and what you love about the creative and expressive arts. I didn't realize you were so gifted and talented. You're, you're a photographer, you're a musician, composer, lyricist, poet, crafter, you know, all these different things. And that is always what I find out when I interview people. They kind of box themselves into one creative area. And then as we get talking, the box gets bigger. Every interview I have, they say, well, yeah, I do that too. I do that too. Yeah.
They're all
I think
outlets.
it's so true. Creative artists are not just one way creative, you know, and that's who you are. And you're just a joy and a blessing to be with. And you inspire me. And I know that you inspire others. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You.
And I look forward to getting to know you even more. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.